welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you, Nikki Lucas, candidate for the 42nd District Council. She'll be with us for the next 30 minutes, so stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV.
Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered.
Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. Like I said, I have a very special guest for you, Nikki Lucas. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have somebody here, 42nd District Council candidate.
Yep.
There's a lot of changes here for 2021. But before we even go into that, I want to kind of take it a step back.
Okay, cool.
Let's rewind a little bit, kind of really introduce you to the viewers. So who is Nikki Lucas?
Nikki Lucas is a mom, a resident of that community for quite some time. I've been there since '78, a long time, and someone that just really cares. I'm a friend. I'm a mom, a daughter, a grandchild to many within the community, and really just someone who wants to really impact change by really doing something about it and not just speaking on it.
Absolutely. So before politics, before the life of politics, what were you involved in before? What were your professions and your goals that kind of led up to this point?
Sure. I actually owned a music store a few years back.
My people had record stores.
People had record stores. That's a real thing. My parents actually got me heavily involved in politics. My sisters and I, everyone is involved in some level of public service. And, my parents always taught us that we have to be engaged. My mother and my dad both worked with politicians to help them get elected, was very civically engaged when it came to meetings, and took that very serious when it came to us getting into schools or getting certain jobs. I remember when we were working for Summer Youth, actually, and they would give like a lot of the black kids like the jobs cleaning up the streets and just having a job. But my mother wanted us to have an experience. And so she was like, no, my daughters are not going to do that. I've worked with you for a really long time. I've been helpful to the community. I need your assistance in this. And so we would always get these like office jobs or jobs that were really related to building skill sets. And I'm thankful to my mom for that and my dad.
And had they not done that, they would have just continued to pigeonhole you because, of course, and nothing knocking those positions and in the least because there's a need for all of that. But you can't just continue to, little black or brown kid, there you go, that's your role. No, we belong in the offices too.
Well, it's about making sure that we create opportunities so that we can explore different things. And if we so choose to do something else or whatever it is that which I would be supportive of, that's our option. But to give us an opportunity at different options was the basic idea.
So how was that experience owning a record store? Because especially when record stores were in the day when you could just picture that you were probably that pillar of the community from people coming to put flyers in. Like, you just know, especially if you're from the Caribbean community, you just know what that meant and what that would create in the community.
So the record store, which back then was called Nico's in the Mix, was the barber shop or the beauty salon of the neighborhood. People were able to come in and kind of talk, whether you purchased something or not. Young people will come in and really put up their skills, whether they sang or rapped. Whatever it was, I gave everyone an opportunity. I would put the speaker outside. I had some of them perform, like in front of the store. And there were battles, where it really was, it was an enjoyable time. Sometimes people just had something on their mind. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that happened is that people were engaging. That was a real thing for me. And, you had to greet each other when you came in the store. Like, how are you? This is a real story. There was someone that came in, and his energy was just completely wrong. And I said hello, and he didn't say anything, and I was like, hello. And I actually didn't, because he seemed, troubling. He actually started a fight with another person in the store. They ended up having a fight. He ended up getting himself removed from the store. And I made it my business to make sure that sometimes you don't know what's on people's minds, the space that they came in or out of. And that's why it's very important to make sure that you're engaging with people. And it wasn't about getting paid or someone buying an item, because many times people will come in and I would say, I don't really have anything for you today because I know my customers. But it was really about an experience, and that's how I just lead every part of my life.
So from that and that engaging part of, you could definitely say it transcended to the role of politics today, because you still have to know, you have to know your constituents.
You do.
You have to know your people. You have to know what they want. And you have years of training, whether it's music or politics. There's not a big difference in terms of, like, the commodity itself is different. But you can't teach somebody how to know their people.
Well, you can't manufacture integrity. You can't manufacture a character. Those are things that just either you have it or you don't. And if you don't, it's not a bad thing. Maybe you can go into some other things that's a better fit for you. But you cannot manufacture kindness. You can't manufacture understanding. Just a basic general idea of wanting to engage with people. I have good friends that they would prefer to be by themselves. I love talking to people. I love going out and knowing my neighbors. Even if I don't know their names, I at least know their face. I love saying hello. I love being in the city but having a very country feel.
That's really nice. So you feel that now is the time. You are ready to take this over.
Yeah, I've been through, I've won races. I'm a former district leader in the community. I've won, I've lost, and I've never, I never considered losing a campaign or a race a loss. It was always an experience that I feel like God kind of put me through, just so that I can actually gain knowledge of what people are really going through. I always tell people, don't knock anyone. Like Jesus, his disciples were murderers and thieves. And if these people didn't experience that, it will be hard for them to be an example to someone else. While I'm not a murderer or a thief.
They probably will Google you and check.
I have my own experience in which I'm able to really identify with people's plight. Just when it comes to education, I'm a mom. My daughter, navigating through that system in of itself, it was very challenging. So I can identify with that. When it comes to housing and being able to just afford to pay your rent, if you're not working or you lose your job. Just being able to care for your family. I'm thankful that both my parents are alive, but my father, I had to take care of my dad at some point.
Right. Well, hold that thought. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. So, Nikki, you were saying right before we took the break that, you're fortunate to have your parents. There's still a lot. Brooklyn has been through so much. We've all been through so much, especially coming off the heels of COVID. We're still in COVID. We're not out the woods yet. And you were just saying, having to take care of your father. You have to, your mother, you still work. There's a whole lot of things going on. Why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, just in my experience with having to take care of my dad, identifying services, home health care services, making sure his insurance was intact, making sure that we got into the right facilities, which many of them are not necessarily good facilities. And for me, having to go through that experience put me in a state of really being extremely concerned for seniors, those who don't have someone that doesn't know the system or how to navigate through it, someone who doesn't even have somebody that can advocate for them or a voice. Those were things that were alarming to me. And just the idea, even if you didn't care about anybody else, you want to make it to get older. Right? You want to get older. You want to get to 70, 80, 90. And
keep my same face. I know I'm trying.
And keep your same face. Keep your same body, too. However, just imagine not having anyone to speak on your behalf. And, people just, people out there just don't do the right thing all the time. They just don't necessarily do the right thing. And I shouldn't be the one to have to tell you to do it. But sometimes you do need a mouthpiece.
Absolutely.
And that's really what I feel like throughout my experiences. That's exactly what God has been teaching me. Just to be the mouthpiece for people, title or not. Because you really don't need that in order to create that experience or to advocate for people in that way. However, having a title in terms of a legislative title allows you to do just that. Make laws that will protect people. Bring resources in a community to make sure that we're funding things that are needed within a community. So when people ask me, why do you want to do it? That's my why.
And why should they pick you?
Why not me?
Excellent point.
Why not me? I've been working within the community for a really long time. And one of the concerns that we've had within the 42nd Council District, we actually have 2 electeds that have been swapping seats for the past 20 years. Now, I think that maybe it could probably be overlooked if we felt like we saw if we saw the community advance in the past 20 years to something that we could really be proud of. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the very things that we have been going through for the past 20 years, it's still going on, and it may be worse. And it was just simply magnified throughout the pandemic. So when you are so prideful about all of the amazing housing that's coming up in the community, and our community can't qualify for these things because their credit is bad, because they filled out the application wrong. Yeah. They're not working right now. Those things are problematic.
Yeah, like there's something I want to say probably in the last 7 to 10 years, if you're looking for an apartment, minimum 40 times the rent. That's a clause that they put in there, which is actually not even a state regulation. That's just arbitrary. That's something they use to disqualify people. Because I could afford it, but if you don't make 40 times the rent.
I mean, these things are problematic, but we know what's happening within our community. Just like East New York happens to be the number one in homelessness in the city. So how is it that we have all of this housing, but the people in East New York are homeless?
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up. Even with the educational system, when our young children, our students, didn't have tablets. They gave some of them tablets but didn't have service.
Or internet.
Or internet, right. If they went, they did an initial linkage agreement with like some of the cable companies, and because they owed a bill, they couldn't access it. So it's about really being proactive, and our community unfortunately just didn't experience that. Our leadership just wasn't proactive in these things. We should never have been in a position where we were not prepared as a community. And our not being prepared is very different than other communities. We were already 5-10 years behind. So what the pandemic did was really expose a huge digital divide. And so we saw that. We saw the housing. When it came to the discussion about privatizing NYCHA, this is something that they had been working on for a long time, and no one ever discussed it in our community. And, the reality of it all is that we have been really suffering, and they allowed people's homes to dilapidate to the point where people are desperate. So they think that when these things come along, it's a good thing. When in fact, down the road, they're just going to be displaced. They're not going to be able to afford the rents.
Yep.
And
especially if you've been rent stabilized for forever. You have no clue of what it is. A basic one bedroom is $1,800.
Right, but privatizing NYCHA is the end of affordability. Period. That is the
and that has happened.
2 of the developments in our community are currently under the RAD program. We have a couple of others that they're looking at, but we are fighting it. We have to. But again, when you ask the question, why me? Why not me? Because at the end of the day, the reason why we're in much of the situation that we're in, even when it comes to healthy food deserts, we saw a lot of people die in our community, a lot of underlying conditions. You would think that we'd have better access to more quality care, more access to preventive care. You would think that we would make a huge investment in healthy food options, but no. Instead, we have Pennsylvania Avenue, which is lined up with McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all of these different fast food restaurants, and there's no investment in healthy foods.
Well, hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. So, Nikki, we were just talking about, just the lack of things in the community. You brought up several issues that I'm sure, if elected, you would make it a mandate for yourself to tackle affordability in terms of housing, access to good food. And even for myself personally, the last year that we've all been working from home, my diet changed significantly because I don't have access to all those great salad places in the city, even though it'd be $13, $14, $15 for a salad. Okay. But I live off of Church Avenue.
I know some affordable salad spots that are really good. We'll talk after
we have
this.
To talk, because I need to be put on. I say Nikki Lucas sent me. But everywhere you look, it's either fast food, a Kennedy Fried Chicken, and you see the difference. You just see it. And that all plays into our community needing access to that great stuff. For those who don't know, what areas make up the 42nd district?
Sure. So it's East New York, part of Brownsville, East Flatbush, Canarsie. So if you want to know in terms of like assembly districts, it's all of the 60th Assembly District, a part of the 54th, the 58th, the 55th, and a minuscule part of the 59th.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a pretty big district.
yeah, it's pretty vast, but a lot of disparities that exist within those districts, even with environmental issues. One of the things that I think we kind of know a lot of the issues, but it's about what is the plan. So one of the things that I did was I released something called the 21st Century Rescue Plan, and for East Brooklyn, with emphasis on the areas that I just described. And it really lays out a plan for what we can look for with me being in city council. I don't want to get in trying to figure out what's going on. I think that I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of really key partnerships that will allow me to hit the ground running once in city council. And one of the key things that we also need to have are partnerships. Partnerships with the community, the leaders, the people that are impacted, and partnerships and knowing how to use those partnerships with elected officials. Being able to partner with people and to push legislation. We have 2 legislators in our community that have never authored a piece of legislation. That's unheard of. We have the highest number of police brutality within our district, coming out of the 75th precinct. Okay? Highest in gun violence. Yet, there's not one piece of legislation that has been authored coming out of our district. That's unheard of. So, one of the things that I've been pushing is real police reform. Making sure that we are addressing the issue of accountability. There's been a lot of talk about funding for the police. There's no talk about accountability. Mm-hmm. So now you move around all of these funds, but you're still not getting at the reason why we had this discussion in the first beginning. Accountability. Police officers should not be allowed to accrue 17, 18 violations before they end up killing somebody. George Floyd's killer,
he had a lot of violations.
He had a lot of substantiated violations. And ultimately, it was ignored. It was unchecked. So that's one of the things I put in the reform.
Absolutely. How do people at home get in contact with you?
They can reach me, electnickylucas.com, number 1. You can go on my website, first of all, and check me out. 2, please go on my social media pages. Hit me up on IG. I respond to everything myself. Facebook, Twitter. It's Elect Nikki Lucas at all of them. Facebook, Twitter, IG at Elect Nikki Lucas. If you want to volunteer for the campaign, electnickylucas.com. If you want to donate, it's electnickylucas.com. It's real simple, easy to remember.
Love it. electnickylucas.com. And that's it. I'm sure if they Google it, it'll come up as well. Any final words for anybody at home? Just kind of really driving the point home of why you are the best candidate.
Because we want to take a proactive approach. If you want real solutions for real change with a plan to move forward, if you want to be included in the decisions that impact your life on a day-to-day basis, it's important that we choose a leader that will be proactive in creating real solutions for change. And so that is the reason why Nikki Lucas is your candidate. That's me.
I love it. And that's great. You know, you have a ton of experience. You're from the community. You know the community. You know what's happening in the community. And you've really spent that day-to-day interacting with everybody.
Yeah.
And hearing things. What are some of the things, just high-level overview of, do people, when they see you outside, share things with you or tell you concerns?
All the time.
Yeah.
It's one of the things is that we've had the local electeds, their office has been closed for quite some time. There's no access to getting in touch with them, or people have not been able to get a call back. Those are really key complaints. And some of what's been happening is you'll see on many of my lives where we're going into people's apartments that don't have heat, don't have hot water, having issues when it comes to mold, or their infrastructure is unlivable. And we're not talking about just anyone. We're talking about seniors. We're talking about working people. We're talking about families with children. And it's being completely ignored. And so we've been going into folks' houses, advocating and exposing the issue. We want to work with everyone. The idea is to really create and implement some type of action. But we're prepared to expose it as well.
I love it. Nikki Lucas, thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And best of luck on June 22nd.
Thank you so much. Early voting, June 12th through the 20th, please.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, you can send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. I'm your host, Lydia Patel. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us.
Beyond Focus TV show wants and needs your feedback. Did we blunder? Please let us know so we can improve. Was the show helpful to you? Drop us a note so we can share the success with our staff members. Is there something you think we could do better? We welcome new ideas and new approaches to old ideas. Do you have a great suggestion? Let us know and we'll work on it. If you would like to share your comments anonymously, please send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. If you want to get in touch with the executive producer directly, send him an email at gene@beyondfocusmedia.com. We really look forward to hearing from you.